Have you ever noticed how talking about gut health lately feels like you've accidentally walked into a high-level biology dissertation? You open social media, and it's all microbiome diversity, short-chain fatty acids, and metabolic pathways. Honestly, I usually feel like I'm back in high school, staring at a final exam I definitely didn't study for.
You are definitely not the only one feeling that way. It's a strange time because we have more access to deep science than ever. People are listening to hours of neuroscientists and longevity experts. But there's this massive gap, isn't there? We know the gut is important, but how do we actually bridge that gap between complex cellular biology and, say, what we're choosing for lunch on a Tuesday?
Exactly. I want the benefits, but I don't necessarily want to memorize the Krebs cycle just to fix my bloating. That's why I've been fascinated by this shift toward what some call clinical realism, taking those heavy concepts and stripping away the jargon. It's about making the science sticky and practical.
And that's where humor becomes a literal medical tool. Think about why certain doctors or health communicators are suddenly going viral. They aren't just reciting data, they're looking at the mountain of white rice on someone's plate and saying, "Hey, you're eating like you're tilling a field by hand, but you actually spend 8 hours a day staring at a spreadsheet."
That hits a little too close to home, but it's a great point. We're often fueling ourselves for a lifestyle we simply don't have anymore, especially in many Asian or Western cultures, where refined carbs are the bedrock of every meal. We treat rice or bread as the base of the pyramid, but our physical activity level is more like a tiny pebble at the top.
Right. And when you understand that, the science of insulin resistance stops being an abstract concept and starts being a lifestyle realization. If we keep that field worker diet while living a desk worker life, our bodies just don't know where to put all that energy. It ends up as belly fat and metabolic stress. So, the question is, how do we fix the architecture of the meal without feeling like we're living in a state of constant deprivation?
I love that term, plate architecture. It sounds much more manageable than a restrictive diet. You've mentioned before that we can use certain speed bumps to help our bodies process what we eat. Can you walk me through that?
It's one of the most effective metaphors for digestion. Imagine your digestive tract is a high-speed highway. If you throw down a bowl of pure white rice or a sugary snack on an empty stomach, it's a clear road. That glucose hits your bloodstream like a race car, your insulin spikes to catch it, and you end up in this cycle of energy crashes and cravings.
So, how do we build the speed bumps?
You change the order of operations. If you lead with fiber, think a solid serving of vegetables, and then follow with protein, you're essentially laying down physical obstacles on that highway. By the time the carbohydrates hit your system, they're forced to slow down. The sugar enters the blood in a steady stream rather than a flood. You're protecting your metabolic health just by changing the sequence of your fork hits.
It's so simple, yet it feels revolutionary, because it doesn't require you to give up the foods you love. It just requires you to be a bit more strategic. It's the flip the plate method, right?
Precisely. Instead of the starch being the centerpiece and the protein being the garnish, you flip it. Make the protein and the fiber the stars of the show, and relegate the rice or the bread to a sidekick role. It's a massive win for managing obesity and metabolic syndrome, because it works with human psychology rather than against it. You're still full, but your natural pharmacy is working much better.
Wait, I love that, the natural pharmacy. We hear so much about these new weight loss medications, the GLP-1 agonists, which are everywhere in the news. But you're saying our bodies have a built-in version of this.
Absolutely. Your gut is a chemical factory. When you eat a high-fiber, gut-friendly diet, your intestinal cells are stimulated to produce their own natural GLP-1. This is the hormone that tells your brain, "Hey, we're good, you can stop eating now."
That explains the food noise people talk about. If your gut isn't sending those satiety signals, your brain is just constantly scanning for the next hit of dopamine or sugar.
Exactly. There's a profound brain-body connection here. When your gut health is compromised, your cravings aren't just a lack of willpower, they're a biological SOS signal. If you feed the gut what it needs to produce those natural hormones, that 9 p.m. chocolate craving doesn't just get ignored, it often doesn't even show up. Your brain finally receives the signal that the tank is full.
It really shifts the perspective from fighting your body to supporting your systems. But let's get real for a second. The market is flooded with miracle gut cleansers, expensive probiotics, and detox teas. How does the average person stay grounded in all that noise?
You have to look for clinical realism. If a product promises to reset your entire system in 3 days, it's probably marketing, not medicine. Real gut health is boring and consistent. It's about using evidence-based natural soothers when you're uncomfortable, like ginger or peppermint, rather than some expensive cleanse kit.
And I've heard that sometimes more fiber isn't actually the answer for everyone. Is that true?
That is a crucial point. We've spent years telling everyone to eat more fiber, but if someone is already dealing with slow digestion, perhaps they are actually on one of those GLP-1 medications, piling on more fiber can be a disaster. It can lead to extreme bloating and discomfort because the speed bumps become a total traffic jam. It's about sustainable integration, not just following an extreme protocol because it's trendy.
It sounds like the uncomplicated gut is really about intuition and simple shifts. We don't need to be scientists. We just need to be better architects of our daily habits.
That's the heart of it. We've turned health into this high-stress pursuit of perfection, but the body is remarkably resilient if you just give it the right cues. Use humor to keep yourself from getting overwhelmed. Use fiber as your speed bump. Flip your plate to prioritize protein, and let your natural pharmacy do the heavy lifting.
It's funny, we started talking about how complex this all was, but when you break it down, it's actually quite intuitive. It's less about a biology final, and more about just being a bit more mindful of the highway traffic inside us.
And that's the goal. Moving away from the deep science that freezes us in place and toward the small, evidence-based habits that actually change how we feel when we wake up in the morning.
I think that's a perfect place to leave it. It's a lot to chew on, pun intended, but it feels doable. Next time, I want to dive into some of the myths around fasting. Is it a metabolic miracle, or just another tool in the box?
Oh, that's a big one. There's a lot of hype to cut through there, too.
Can't wait. Thanks for breaking this down today. I'm off to go find some speed bumps for my next meal.
Enjoy the ride. See you next time.